Afternoon, YouTube. So it's time to do another video to help you liberate your mind. Now, I get quite a few people that ring me up either because they want to be a coaching client or they want to be, they want to do some therapy with me. And I can tell straight off the bat when someone says one of the two phrases, what's going on for them, right? So either they say, I want you to fix me, or if it's more of a coaching inquiry, they say, I need some guidance. I need someone to tell me what to do, right? Now, instantly, that takes the responsibility off them, right? They're basically saying, you do the work. You have the answers. Do it for me. And that is never going to work, right? I will never tell a client, whether they be here for coaching or therapy, what to do. Because really, even if I have some good ideas, they might not be relevant, applicable, helpful to you, right? The idea is that I help to bring the answers that are already in you out of you. And it's quite sad to watch because this really is about how it is in society when people idolize people, authors, pop stars, film stars, role models, YouTubers, all of these things. They're basically looking for someone else to give them purpose, identity, status, someone to model or copy or mimic, all of these things. And it comes back to, again, giving your power away. So what I would say to you is if you want to get a coach, I mean, if someone wants to get some coaching from me, I won't let them do coaching until they go through what I call my mind reboot process, right? And the mind reboot process is the thing that removes everything that's getting in the way of them being able to come up with those answers. Because as I said, the answers are already inside of you, but there are some factors that you have to be aware of that stop you from being creative and finding those answers. And the first one is, if your stress levels are too high, or you've got a lot of unresolved unconscious things going on, then you're not even in the right part of the brain to be creative, to think clearly, right? If you're in fight or flight most of the time, then the whole point of being in fight or flight is that you're present. And the reason you're present is because if you're not present, you're going to get eaten by whatever it is that's trying to attack you, because that part of the brain is the first part of the brain to be developed, the primitive. That's why they call it the primitive brain. And the primal brain is based on emotion. So that's why when people are living down there, they're hijacked and they basically are living in line with their emotions. And their emotions tend to override their thoughts, right? So you might say, I want to go and do this. And your body's like, no. And that's what procrastination is, right? Procrastination and demotivation, that people say, I've got procrastination. And I will say it's freeze, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. Because the reason you don't feel like it, believe it or not, is your body's way of saying you don't have the capacity to go and do that thing right now because you feel overwhelmed, you've got too much stress in your bucket, all of the rest of it. It's actually a good thing. Your brain and body never do anything that isn't for your highest good. So if we reframe what procrastination or not being motivated is, it's your body's way of trying to tell you something, which is, it's saying, look, it's difficult enough to get you out of bed in the morning and earn some money, and sometimes it doesn't even let you do that, right? It depends how severe the issue's got. So coming back to my point, which is, if you're stressed out all of the time, you're not going to be able to be creative or think about the future in a positive way. You might think about it in a worrying, anxious kind of way. And so therefore, that's the first thing that needs to be sorted out. And the second thing is all of these patterns from your past, these traumas, these anxious states, these depressive states, these emotional triggers, these beliefs that you have about yourself and who you believe you are. And if those things are rearing up automatically all of the time, then you don't have the space or the capacity or the creativity to get out of the hole. You are literally surviving going through your life. So if somebody says to me, I want to be a coaching client, I'm saying we're not doing that until we get rid of all of this. And everybody's got that stuff, right? It's just part of the journey. And the funny thing is, once we've been through that process that I take them through, they suddenly say, oh, I don't need coaching anymore. And I know they're going to say that a lot of the time. Some of them do, right? Because they really have no idea. But more times than not, a lot of people suddenly have insights and creative thought and realize what needs to happen in their life. Because when you make space for those ideas to flow up, because you're not so busy and there's not so much noise going on in your head, and you're in the part of the brain where you have access to those kinds of resources, and your heart comes back online and starts to tell you what feels good or not, right? And also that you're not running every decision and creative idea through a filter of, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, then it simplifies things, right? Something else I would recommend is that you guys do a values elicitation, right? A values elicitation is simply a way of you realizing what is important to you. What is important in your life? And in fact, that is the first question you will ask, is what is important to you in life, right? And they will give you a list of values, right? Things that are important like family, freedom, right? Integrity, all of these kinds of words. And they will then narrow those down into what we call your core values, right? Now, it's very interesting, again, if you do a values elicitation with somebody before you've got rid of all their unconscious baggage and then do it after. When you do it before, you will see there are lots and lots of different values, but the moment you've gone through what I call my mind reboot process, it usually boils down to a single value, right? Like peace or to feel happiness, whatever it might be. And that makes things simple. So why is it important to know what your core values are? Because it means it's very easy for you to make decisions. Because all you need to do is ask yourself, is this group, this job, this relationship, this estate, this country, or whatever it is it going to bring me peace? Or is it going to make me happy? And if the answer is no, it doesn't matter how attractive the person is or how much money that job's going to pay you or how big that house might be. If the answer is no, it's no. And if you go ahead and do it anyway, you will feel stressed or overwhelmed most of the time because you're living clashing and out of line with your core values. So if we were to summarize this whole video, just to give you some perspective, if you, first of all, nobody's got the answers for you, right? Nobody can fix you. So I'm afraid it means that you're going to have to take responsibility for where you're at, no matter how horrific that situation might be right now. The moment you actually say, okay, and own it, I'm here, this has happened, this is where I'm starting from, but it doesn't mean that I have to spend my days, beating myself up, being the victim, going around in circles. Now I'm ready to start to climb out of this hole and take responsibility for my part in that. And now it's about the one thing I've got control over, or two things actually, is what I think and what I do from this moment forwards. So does it help me to focus on the problems and the things that have happened? Or am I going to now put my focus on where I want to get out of here? So that's step one. Step two, you're going to need to lower your stress levels and get back into the front part of your brain where you are logical, where you are rational, where you are positive, where you can be creative, where you have access to all of those resources. The next thing you're going to need to do, I say need, you don't have to do any of these things, but you get my point. If you want to really find your purpose or you want to find a new way forward or build a new life for yourself, is get rid of all the unconscious patterns that fire off automatically, right? And that's where someone like myself will come in, right? when I can take you through a process, and in as little as 6 sessions, you will have cleared all of that, all your trauma, all of that anxious stuff, all of it's gone, right? Once it has gone, then you want to work out what your values are, your core value especially. And the moment you know that, you can start, now you've got the space, the capacity, the brain power, the creative spark is back, you're feeling healthier, more positive, you'll have more space to think clearly. And when you're thinking about stuff, you won't be running it through all kinds of filters of your past and the misunderstandings that you had about yourself. And you're ready now to start to think about asking yourself questions like, what is it that lights me up? What is it that makes me want to get out of bed in the morning? What is it that I can do to make the world a better place or contribute to something bigger than myself? Because that really is the secret, right? And all my experience, it's not about stuff. It's not really about, it's about people. It's about relationships. It's about the things where we're helping each other, connecting and doing things that will benefit everybody else. Because even though it feels good to get a new car or a house or even into a new relationship or whatever it might be, it's temporary, right? Because the brain gets bored or takes things for granted or whatever it is. But when you contribute to something or you create something that everyone can appreciate, whether it be art, music, the written word, whatever it is, then that lasts, right? It makes you feel good. It's a sense of well-being for doing something that contributes to society, and it lights you up, right? So hopefully that's given you some ideas, some food for thought. If you need support, I'd be more than happy to work with you. Have a great weekend.